Kirk Cousins says he feels the Redskins are not that far from NFC playoff teams. The Redskins' ugly loss at the Meadowlands on Sunday denied them their third consecutive non-losing season, a modest stretch of not-terribleness the franchise hasn't enjoyed since 2001. Despite Washington's 7-9 final record, Kirk Cousins, who had his worst game as a starter in what may have been his final appearance in burgundy and gold against the Giants, offered a reason to believe the team is trending in the right direction and actually made some progress during an injury-marred campaign. "I think this will be the first year where I watch the playoffs and watch the top teams, and feel like the Redskins are not that far from that," Cousins told Grant Paulsen and Danny Rouhier in an interview that aired Tuesday on 106.7 The Fan. "I think when you look at teams like the Saints and the Vikings, and how we went toe-to-toe with them, played them really well and moved the football, I don't know that that was the case back in 2015 when we went and played Carolina. They were the top team in the NFC and they took it to us. And I watched that Super Bowl, Carolina and Denver, and said, I don't feel like we're there yet. We still have a ways to go. This year, I feel like I am gonna watch the NFC and feel like we're right there. I mean, whether it's the Rams, the Vikings, the Saints, I just feel like we played them all tough and have a lot of reason to feel good about our chances next year and where the team is headed. So, I think that's an encouraging thing to take away. The sentiment won't do anything to help dull the pain of another lost season for Redskins fans, like watching the Nick Foles-led Eagles bow out of the playoffs in a couple weeks would, but Cousins may have a point to an extent. When the Redskins sneaked into the playoffs at 9-7 by virtue of winning the weak NFC East in 2015, the Panthers were the only NFC playoff team they played during the regular season. Washington lost, 44-16, at Carolina before winning 5 of its final 6 games. The Redskins were 2-4 against NFC playoff teams last year, with the 4th loss coming in the regular season finale against a Giants team that was already locked into the NFC's 5th seed. One of Washington's 8 wins in 2016 was a 42-24 rout of Green Bay, which lost to the Falcons in the NFC Championship game. This season, Washington was 1-4 against NFC playoff teams, including a 27-20 win at Los Angeles in Week 2. The Redskins also had a 15-point lead over the Saints, who, like the Rams, will host a playoff game this weekend, with less than 5 minutes remaining in their Week 11 game at New Orleans. Washington's stunning 34-31 loss at the Superdome came 1 week after a 38-30 defeat at home against the Vikings, who secured one of the NFC's 2 first-round byes. Washington went toe-to-toe with the Eagles, the NFC's number 1 seed, in Week 1, but Philadelphia pulled away early in the 4th quarter of their meeting in Week 7. Individually, Cousins said he was pleased with his improvement in his 3rd full season as Washington's starter. "I've talked about that continuous improvement," said Cousins, who threw 27 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. "I just don't feel like I've plateaued as a player. There may be some people who say, okay, he kind of is what he is now. But I think I'm continuing to get better. The game is slowing down. I'm still interested to see how high I can go, because I do think each year one have gotten better and had a greater command of how to play in this league." Cousins eclipsed 4,000 yards for a 3rd consecutive season despite losing 1,000-yard receivers Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garcon in the offseason and seeing his most dependable target, tight end Jordan Reed, limited to 6 games due to injury. "I think the narrative after the last 2 seasons was, he's basically dependent on having Pro Bowl receivers around him and a Pro Bowl tight end and he won't be able to do that if he doesn't have that," Cousins said. With some of the injuries this year and letting some guys go in free agency, that wasn't the same story and yet we were still able to move the ball and be productive. I think that's where maybe I was able to show some growth as a player. I'm excited again for where that can lead in the future, because every year we've gotten better. As I move forward, I'd like to think that will continue to happen. If that does continue to happen, it's unclear whether it will be with the Redskins or another team. Cousins, who will field questions about his future from fans at a charity event in Vienna on Friday, has offered no clues since Sunday's game about how he expects the next few months to play out. The structure of the offseason and the way the league is set up, a lot of stuff happens in March, and so that's when I expect things to take place, Cousins told 106.7 The Fan. Between now and then, I don't want to be spinning my wheels trying to get things done that aren't going to get done. I'm in no hurry. I'm going to go to Michigan this week, just quickly, and then get back here to DC for our event on Friday, and then head down to Atlanta and spend some time with family and spend time with my son and just relax. Read more on the Redskins. The Redskins have an identity. It isn't a good one. 27 Things I Hated About the Season-Ending Loss to the Giants. Examining the Redskins' top quarterback options if Kirk Cousins leaves. The unending Kirk Cousins debate gets